Happy Friday to you. Good morning, Mustangs. Today is Friday, March 21st. Happy World Poetry Day.
Hey, Eric, why would we wear crazy socks on World Down Syndrome Day?
I don't know. Let's call him Graham. Come in, Graham.
Hi, guys. We wear crazy socks because people with Down syndrome have an extra chromosome, which looks like mismatched socks.
Thank you.
Happy World Down Syndrome Day!
Good morning, Mustangs. It is now time for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great job, everybody. Sit back down in your seats and let's have a great day.
Behave responsibly. E. Expect to learn. S. Stay safe. T. Treat others with kindness and respect. Happy birthday! Happy birthday today to Dean Shirk, Ms. Brown, and Mr. Pamplin.
Did you know? Amelia Earhart was an American aviation pioneer and the first woman to fly solo, by herself, across the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. She set many records and received many awards, like being the first woman to ever receive the Distinguished Flying Cross from Congress. In 1937 she set off to fly around the world, but she disappeared above the Pacific Ocean and was never seen again.
Psst. Hey, you. You weren't followed, right? Good. Want a cupcake?
Guess what?
What? Guess what, Miss Smith?
What?
Guess what?
What?
Guess what?
What?
Guess what?
What?
Guess what?
What?
Guess what, Miss Smith?
What?
Guess what?
What?
Guess what?
What?
Guess what, Miss Smith?
What?
Will you please be there?
Please, can you come?
Please, can you come?
Please.
It's for the animals. Please help the animals.
4th grade market day is Saturday, March 22nd from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Paws Atlanta will be hosting an adoption event on site. We hope to see you there.
American aviatrix Amelia Earhart was born on July 24, 1897, in Atchison, Kansas. Amelia was a rambunctious child, though her mother wanted her to be a proper lady instead of a tomboy.
I can see Amelia growing up and seeing her mother juggle not very much money, and I think throughout her life, Amelia tried to avoid any kind of conventional female life.
After a plane ride at an air show, she decided she would learn to fly. In 1928, she was invited to be the first female to fly across the Atlantic, but only as a passenger. With pilot Bill Stultz and mechanic Louis E. Gordon, Earhart landed in the United Kingdom on June 17, 1928. Amelia was an instant sensation.
I think she was somewhat embarrassed by the attention she got, because as she knew, she had done nothing on this flight. She was just a passenger. She kept the log, but she really referred to herself as a sack of potatoes.
After the flight, promoter George P. Putnam began managing Amelia's career.
It's very difficult to describe G.P. Putnam. He was flamboyant, he was handsome, he could be charming. When he lost his temper, his language was incredibly evil.
Putnam began heavily promoting Earhart's career with lecture tours and product endorsements.
people criticized GP for pushing Amelia too hard. Number one, I think she was a willing participant in this. And number two, she really had to do it. That was the way that you would raise the money for these flights.
Though their relationship started out strictly professional, they would eventually marry in 1931. After several more successful flights, including a solo trip across the Atlantic, Earhart decided to fly around the world. Amelia and navigator Fred Noonan took off from Oakland, California on June 1st, 1937, and made it 22,000 miles to Lae, New Guinea.
On Earhart's last flight, having started out with ill health, fatigue, on the way along the flight, she would fly an average very often of 10 to 12 hours a day. So by the time she got to Lae, she was a wreck.
The next leg to Howland Island was problematic. Overcast skies hindered celestial navigation, and it was discovered later they were using inaccurate maps. At 8:43 a.m. on July 3rd, U.S. Coast Guard vessel Ithaca received the last communication from Earhart and launched an immediate search. However, the plane was never found.
It's not the mystery of her disappearance that we want to stress. To her, flying was such a wonderful experience, and she wanted it to be safe. She wanted people to...
This is I'm Amelia Earhart by myself and Chris Eliopoulos. Begins, I am Amelia Earhart. It says, when I was little, people told me that girls should wear dresses and play with dolls. They said we shouldn't have unladylike adventures. I did not agree. And it said, in fact, when I was 7 years old, my sister and I decided to build our own roller coaster in our backyard. We placed 2 planks of wood up against the side of our tool shedding. My sister said, Grandma's not going to like this. The cab was a wooden packing crate with roller skate wheels attached to the bottom. We greased the wood with lard so we would move super fast. And he says, Amelia, are you sure this is a good idea? And she says, this isn't a good idea. It's the best idea. Of course, I got to ride first. This was my moment. In 3, 2, 1, I still remember the wind in my face. My stomach seemed to sink. I was flying. Grandmother says, Amelia Earhart, take it apart the Simpsons. She says the crash was loud and noisy and messy. It certainly wasn't ladylike, but it was awesome. And she says, that's so awesome. It wasn't the last time I would fly. She says, as I got older, I went to many air shows. When I was 23 years old, but still a kid at heart, my dad took me to meet Frank Hawks, a man who would eventually set many of his own flight records. You ready, he says? He says, I'm ready. For $10, Hawks agreed to take me on my very first flight. For 10 minutes, we flew through the sky and out over the Pacific Ocean. By the time I was 200 or 300 feet off the ground, I knew one thing. I had to fly. To save for my flying lessons, I worked as a truck driver, which wasn't ladylike either. Move it, Matt, she says. She also worked as a stenographer, which is just a fancy schmancy word for someone who writes down what people say. Blah, 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 blah. And then she even worked as a photographer. Say Snook. 6 months after I learned to fly, I brought a bright yellow used biplane that I named Canary. Canary is a cool name for a plane, right? And she says, this is my instructor, a woman named Netta Snook. That's her real name. But here's my secret, Amelia Earhart says. I wasn't a natural. I wasn't the best pilot. I just worked harder than anyone else. That's enough flying for today, her instructor says, and she says, no, I can do better one more time around. Most important, like that day on the roller coaster, I dared to do what so many others said couldn't be done. And a reporter, he says, a girl flying across the Atlantic? Amelia, you sure this is a good idea? This isn't a good idea. This is the best idea. I became the first woman to fly across the Atlantic Ocean and the first woman to fly by myself across the Atlantic. Back then, people took boats to get to Europe, sailing for weeks. Planes were still a new thing. In fact, on the day I took off, one magazine ran an article that said women would never be able to fly that far. But I did, she says. To do it, I had to fly for 14 hours and 56 minutes with no rest, no break. Sometimes the sun was so blinding I could barely see where I was going. And she says, this is awesome. In the process, I also broke the record for crossing the ocean in the shortest time, doing it faster than any man or woman ever. Then I broke an altitude record, which is just a fancy schmancy way of saying I went higher than anyone else. How high did I go? About 12 Empire State Buildings straight up at a time when no woman had ever gone that high. In my life, I took many flights. Every single time, there was someone who said I wouldn't be able to do it. Never let anyone stop you. Whatever your dream is, chase it. Work hard for it. You will find it. It is the best lesson that I can give you. I'm Amelia Earhart. I know no bounds. And I hope you'll remember that the greatest flight you'll ever take is the one no one has tried before. To all the kids watching, we didn't make this story up. She's real. This is her as a girl with Netta Snook, with her biplane, with Canary. This is it. The real thing. Again, this is not some magical purple dragon. This is the real hero. This is the real stuff. I hope you enjoyed story time with me. Thank you very much.
Did you know that all people have chromosomes in their body? Chromosomes are like little blueprints that make us who we are. And guess what? There are 23 chromosomes in every person. But some people have an extra chromosome. People with Down syndrome have an extra copy of their 21st chromosome. Folks with Down syndrome are neurodivergent. That means their brains are wired differently. Different is not wrong or bad. It is just different. Blue and yellow represent Down syndrome awareness. In the United States, about 1 in 691 people are born with Down syndrome. Down syndrome is a developmental disability, meaning kids are born with it, and it is lifelong. Kids and adults with Down syndrome go to school, work, make choices, have friends, vote, and do great things for our society. People with Down syndrome often share some common traits, like being very friendly or loving being around others, maybe shorter than others their age, may have certain facial features like smaller ears and a smaller nose, a flatter face, or almond-shaped eyes, may have some difficulty with learning, talking, or moving, or may have low muscle tone. Remember that even though some of these traits are common, everyone with Down syndrome is unique, so all of these do not apply to everyone. How can you help a friend with Down syndrome? The same way you could help any person. You can be a kind friend, include everyone in the group, and offer help if someone is having trouble. If you want to learn more, the #1 experts on Down syndrome are people with Down syndrome. Here are some amazing people with Down syndrome you may have heard of. Jamie Brewer, an actress, Sajid Desai, a musician, and Madeline Stewart, a model. If you'd like to celebrate Down syndrome, tie-dye or wear funky socks to celebrate on World Down Syndrome Day, March 21st, because chromosomes are shaped like socks. You can support a small business run by someone with Down syndrome any day of the year. You could do a sock craftivity, and you can always listen to and support individuals with Down syndrome online. Remember, being unique is awesome. Let's celebrate how
different, a great thing to be. I dedicated this book to my daughter, Mason Hope, for seeing, embracing, and celebrating the different in all of us, and for teaching me to do the same. Scoot closer in and sit next to me while I tell you the story of my friend Macy. She can swim underwater, balance on logs. She can whistle, almost. She has a pet dog. She reads books and jumps high like kangaroos do. She takes hip-hop class and prefers to wear blue. She's a fun-loving kid, much like you and me, but she's also quite different, a great thing to be. A bit small for her age, Macy doesn't talk much. She takes her time while others rush, rush, rush. She says, "Hi, what's your name?" to both strangers and friends, and sometimes sings on after her favorite song ends. While Macy believes that different is grand, others at times just don't understand. Some people stare rudely, and Macy's been told, "You don't belong here, you don't fit the mold." This kind of rejection can sting, it is true. But the thing about Macy, and the thing about you, is the brain in her head and the brave in her heart know her place in this world is not separate or apart. When those scared of different tried to keep Macy out, she just wouldn't give up, nor did she pout. She looked at the people on her left and her right, and with a great burst of courage yelled with all her might, "Hey you, look at me. We're a lot alike, you see, but we're also each different, which is a great thing to be." Others around her realized Macy was right. They all watched in wonder as her spirit shone bright. At her school, at the park, at the dance studio, she brought the beauty of different to each place she would go. People learned to admire Macy's outlook on life. Sameness is fine, but different brings light. With Brave in their hearts and with Macy to guide, the different in each one glowed out from inside. Now, it's your turn, dear one, to create a safe space. Be fearless like Macy and choose to embrace all that you are so others will see. That different is truly a great thing to be. So that's my book, Different, A Great Thing to Be. And I hope, dear one, that you know the different in you brings light to this world. So keep on shining and celebrating and embracing your differences. And
Say after me. I like to be challenged so that I can grow. Now one more time repeat after me. I like to be challenged so that I can grow.